Hello, everyone. Welcome to our grant writing session. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful evening. I know you could be elsewhere, so I thank you so much. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am the owner of Lapov Consulting, LLC. It is a marketing, communications, and grant writing company, and I'm going to be your host for today. So please come on in and join us. Thank you so much for being with us again. So come on into the room. We are going to have a fantastic evening today where I am going to be teaching you how to write grants for your nonprofit or your small business. So thank you so much. I am joining you from Ohio. Ohio, yes. So I want you to be able to give a shout out to where you're joining us from. Again, I'm in Ohio, so let us know in the chat where you're coming in from. Oh, I see the Bronx, I see Baltimore, I see Connecticut, I see Florida, Philly, Camden, New Jersey. All right, another Baltimore. Hello, hello, hello. Illinois. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Crushing Grant Writing. We're going to give you the 3 keys to success so that you can really stop bootstrapping your organization and start writing and getting funded through grants, free money. So again, thank you so much. I have an absolute packed fill, about an hour and 10 minutes for you. So stay with me all the way into the end because I have a surprise for you. So what we're going to do as you come into the room, and let me just again say hello to some of the folks out there. Louisiana, Tallahassee, South Carolina, Florence, South Carolina, Nashville, Beverly from South Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, Louisiana. So hello, come on into the room. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start off with sharing my screen. And we're going to see just a really brief commercial of mine. It was a television commercial that aired last year. It'll give you just a little bit more information about me and the work that I do. But first, we are going to share the screen. All right, let's make sure this is up as it should be. All right, there we are. Perfect. Okay. Oh, let's go back. It didn't play. Oh, now that's odd.
Hi, I'm Linda Peavy, owner of Lapov Consulting. My passion is to place your organization on the path to excellence. Are you struggling to communicate your message, reach target audiences, or secure funding? From marketing communications to grant writing, we achieve your goals. We've worked with high-profile clients and have secured $17 million in funding for charter schools and nonprofits. Call today to discuss what your success looks like and how Lapov Consulting can help.
All right, thanks again for watching. Again, I'm Linda Peavy with Lapov Consulting, and we want to make sure you're in the right place. So today we're going to talk about crushing basic grant writing skills. We're going to go through the 3 keys to success. Again, I'm Linda Peavy, and I am going to take you through this session today. Just a little housekeeping. At the end, we're going to do a great Q&A. I always stay until the end to answer every single question. So as we go through, because there's a lot of information that I'm going to give you, just know that this webinar is being recorded and that you are going to get a replay. So know, yes, you're going to get a replay of this webinar, but please do ask questions in either the Q&A or the chat, because we check both at the end of the webinar. So if you forget to put it in the Q&A, you can certainly put it into the chat. So again, I'm Linda Peavy, and I have been writing grants for almost 14 years now. And yes, I have not just written, but I have been able to secure over $17 million in funding and business development. And over the course of the past 13 years, I have written many, many kinds of grants, everything from education grants to youth development, new technology, curriculum resources, salaries, innovative programming, veterans organizations. I think if there's a grant out there, I've probably written it, from your federal grants, which, oh my gosh, sometimes those are literally 400-page documents, to your smaller grants, and everything in between, local, the various federal grants, the government grants, and also your private and your public foundations as well. And so in that experience, I've also written those applications. So when you complete the grant application, it's the request for proposal. Often I have written those for organizations. I've developed the scoring template because oftentimes there is a template that is used to score the grant application. And I have been able to write those scoring templates. I've been involved in grant administration and partnership development, which is so important. We're going to talk about partnerships later on. And then also being able to help nonprofits and businesses to develop their programming. The grantee report is important because once you get the grant, it is so important to make sure you send off the grantee report to talk about exactly how you were able to use the funds. I've also provided many different grant writing workshops for organizations, especially civic organizations, for the Urban League, for the Council of Smaller Enterprises, and other organizations across the country. But I've also been the executive director of a nonprofit. And so I know with me today, I have some nonprofits, I have some small businesses. So this is a chance. Let me know in the chat who's out there. Are you a nonprofit or are you a small business? Because what we're finding is that many small businesses go on to develop nonprofits. So you may be one or the other, or you may be both. So let us know in the chat. Let's see who we have. We have both. Exactly. Small business, nonprofit, both. Yes, we're finding that so often that these businesses are starting nonprofits, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I've been the executive director of a nonprofit, so I feel your pain. I know what it feels like to get those rejection letters, right? When you complete the grant application. Well, today I'm going to show you really what the process is like to be able to secure grants. So a little bit about my journey. It started many years ago. I worked for a publishing house where I was the marketing director and the associate publisher. I ended up injuring myself. I came back home to Cleveland, Ohio. Took me about 2 years to recuperate. But afterwards, I found that there wasn't any jobs available, even though I had all this experience, but it was mainly in publishing. And as you can imagine, like, Ohio is not the publishing mecca of the world. So it was very difficult to find a job. So I ended up creating my own company. And that's how LaPav Consulting was founded. And this is my 14th year. But when I started LaPav, one of my first jobs was to be a contracted executive director of a nonprofit. And so once I started the job, I was then told that I had to write a grant to save my job. I had to literally write a grant that would provide the salary to save my position. And of course, I didn't know that during the interview process. So it was literally just fire by baptism, because I had to learn right away how to write grants. And then, of course, I got a lot better at it. And what I found is that there is such a connection between knowing what to put in an application and securing the funds. And that connection, what I learned is what I want to be able to teach you today. There is a process to getting grants. It is about more than just looking at an application, completing it, and sending it off. So today you're going to learn about what those processes are. So I'm going to show you 3 different keys. One is really understanding what to write, like what are the components of a grant application that you can expect, and then how to write. So you may get questions, but how do you really answer those questions to benefit your organization? And then also getting noticed. So one thing I've learned over the past 14 years is that, there are some secrets that you really need to know to make sure that you are being noticed and that application is being noticed. And I'm going to share some of those secrets with you. I have some tea for you today, so stay with me all the way into the end. And so why this class? Well, we know that nonprofits and for-profits, you need help with funding. there is a lack of qualified professional freelance grant writers to help organizations. And I say qualified professional freelance grant writers because there is a difference between someone who writes grants and a professional grant writer. I am a professional grant writer. There's a difference. I hear horror stories about organizations being taken advantage of from people who say, oh, you give me $50, I'll write 3 grants from you. I've actually heard that, like, give me $50 and I'll write 3 grants. So you have to be careful because grant writing is a skill. It's not something you learn overnight. It is a skill and it can be costly. So for a really experienced grant writer, they're going to be charging anywhere between $100 to $200 an hour for the really experienced grant writers. For me, it was impossible for me to help everybody that I wanted to help in terms of being able to take you through the process. And so this is one of the reasons why I provide these free webinars so that I can help far more people than I have in the past really get the tools to take the future of your organization in your own hands by understanding the process and then learning how to secure grants. Why this class? So here's really the secret. You don't have to be that professional grant writer to secure grants. You just need to understand what the process is. And that's what we're going to talk about today. What to write, how to write, and then really how do you get your application noticed in a sea of competition? We know that the competition is stiff when it comes to these grants. So before we even get started, one incident completely changed the landscape of grants, and that was COVID-19. So before COVID-19, it was absolutely unheard of for a small business to get a grant. When you thought about grants, you thought about nonprofits. But what COVID-19 did, it really peeled back the onion layer on how vulnerable we are as small businesses. We know, I'm sure everyone here on this webinar knows of people who had to go out of business or who lost revenue, and maybe some of you had to go out of business because of what happened with COVID-19. You were shuttered, you were shut down. And so foundations, and especially your larger organization, said, we need to do something about this. Oftentimes, a nonprofit will sometimes have a bit of a cushion through the grants that they get, but the small businesses, we don't have that cushion, right? Because we are totally reliant upon however we generate cash. And so many foundations and especially, again, the larger corporations said, we're going to start putting together pools of money to create grants strictly for small businesses. And so now you have so many grant opportunities for small businesses, just as you do for nonprofits. So for those of you who are small businesses, the environment has totally changed for you. And now is probably the best time ever for a small business to secure grant money. There's so much money available. It's time that you was able to move forward and do what you need to do to learn the skills to get it. And so I'm going to start now just going through some grant basics. So what is a grant? I still get this question. A grant is a sum of money. It can be given by a government or some other organization for a particular purpose. But what you need to know that's really crucial is that grants are not paid back. So again, for the nonprofits that are with me, what you're going to need absolutely to get grant money is your 501c3. That is critical. Now, I know some of you may be in the process of getting it. From what I understand, it's taking anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks to get the 501c3. This is only for nonprofits. What is it? It is that tax exempt charitable designation by the Internal Revenue Service. It means you're tax exempt, but also it means that people who donate to you can then take that donation as a charitable donation on their tax return. It is very important because the overwhelming majority of foundations require that you get your 501c3 as a nonprofit. Now, you may have a fiscal agent. A fiscal agent is a nonprofit that does have their 501c3. They will be able to get the money for you and then provide it to you. However, that is the reason why so many foundations don't want to deal with this fiscal agent, if they're going to give you grant money, they want to give it directly to you. They don't want it filtered through any other source. And so if you have a fiscal agent, please be working to get your own 501c3, because that is what you're going to need to get grant money. But again, it's only for nonprofits. The 501c3 is only for nonprofits. You don't have to worry about that if you are a for-profit or an entrepreneur. The grant application is simply the proposal that you complete to send off to request whatever funding is available from that application. And so these are some basics that are important right now. So in 2015, there were over 86,000 foundations in the US. The grants total, and look at this number, over $62 billion. Now, about 92% of foundations are independent organizations, 3% are corporate, 1% are community. But look at what happened in 2019. The foundation giving increased to over $75 billion. Now in 2021, the numbers are expected to have increased even further. I show you these stats to let you know, people, the money is available. It is available. Don't think that because we went through a pandemic and we're still going through a pandemic, that somehow giving decreased or declined. It actually grew. So the money is there. It's about how do you go about positioning yourself to get it. And so one of the first things that I ask organizations do when they're going to apply for a grant is to just go through some writing basics, just writing basics. So for example, there's 5 basic writing skills. We know about proper spelling and punctuation. You don't want any grammatical errors in the application, good reading comprehension. You want people to understand your sentence as you wrote it. So sentence and paragraph structure, there's 9 different types of sentence structure, declarative and many others. Knowledge of different types of writing. As you can imagine, writing like a book of poems is different than writing a nonfiction book. But here's what I want to focus on: editing and rewriting, because this is key. There is no such thing as a perfect one-pass grant application. After you write it, reread it and reread it again, because you're going to need to rewrite certain parts of it. That's why it's so important to do the editing, to reread it a couple of times, more than a couple of times if necessary. One of the best ways to help you in your writing is Grammarly. So Grammarly is a free editing software package. And again, it is free. You absolutely should have it as a part of your regular writing. Even if you're writing emails and you download it, it will help you write better emails, but it will help you write better grant applications. And so I want to share this particular article by Grammarly called Improve Writing Skills Dramatically by Doing These 15 Things. Even if you're a professional writer, this article is going to help you become a better writer. So everyone needs to just take these exercises in this article. I guarantee you you're going to be a better writer because of it. And hopefully that, I want to make sure that was, that was put right into the chat. Someone said it took them 3 months to get their 501c3. So I believe there is a process where you may get it expedited. I always recommend that you go through either an attorney or a CPA to get the 501c3, but there are organizations that help you get your 501c3. All right, so again, we are preparing to write the grant application. We're preparing to write it, and this is important because again, you want to put yourself in the best position before you write one syllable. And so what you need to do is prepare your documents, because these documents, for the most part, are going to be required. Your EIN, that's your employer identification number. Again, if you are a nonprofit, your 501c3 tax exempt determination letter. Your certificate of incorporation, which is your bylaws, your state certification, which means you're in good standing to do business in your state. And I always share this story because I was giving a webinar and a young lady came on and said, Linda, you're absolutely right. I was applying for a grant. The competition was stiff. There were so many applicants, and I ended up being the only organization to get that grant. Why? Because I was able to show my state certification to say that I was legally allowed to do business in my state. And so this is homework for everyone. be sure that you go to your Secretary of State's website, put in your business name, and make sure that you have that certification that you can do business within your state. And if not, you're on the right site to be able to talk with your Secretary of State. You need your list of board of directors. You need your list of staff. You need letters of support. And this is important. Give yourself time to garner these letters of support. And these could be from vendors. They could be from people who know you, who know of the work that you've done. If it's a new organization that you're starting, maybe they know of your past history and working with other organizations, but give yourself time to secure your letters of support. The audited financial statement becomes important, especially if you are a seasoned organization, and that's a CPA is going to be able to provide you with the audited financial statement. Your current operating budget. Now, this becomes important even if you are a new organization or you're thinking about starting an organization. So maybe you haven't started yet, you still need an operating budget because it's going to show you how much money you need to operate this dream or this passion that you have, but it also is going to help you know how much grant money you should be asking for. Because after you complete that operating budget, you may be able to see gaps or holes in the budget where you may need to fill it with resources based on grant money. List any other funding sources that you have. This becomes important because no one foundation wants to be the only organization that's funding you. So if you have any other kind of funding, whether it's grant money, whether it's perhaps an in-kind donation or other kind of donation or in-kind services, create a list of everyone who has been able to donate to you or help you through funding, because then that's going to make you look even better when you submit the grant application, because foundations and other funders will know, okay, there have been other organizations that wanted to support this particular entity. So now we're going to talk about what to write. So these are the typical grant components on a grant application. Excuse me, we're going to go through each one. Your summary abstract, your mission, vision, history, leadership, description of the organization, your statement of need or your target market, a description of your program or your project, your community partners, outputs, outcomes, and impact, and then your program project staff. Now, this second leadership pertains to like your board of directors, your budget and sustainability. We're going to go through every component today. First, we're going to start with the summary abstract of a grant application. Now, this is the section that you're going to see first, but don't be confused. You always write it last. It must be compelling. It really talks about why you and why now. Why are you the organization that deserves the money, and why is now the best time for you to secure money? You want to include any statistics that you have, and then what we call the ask, which is actually the amount of the grant money that you're asking for. But keep in mind, you're pulling from the most important and compelling components of the grant application to create your summary. But again, you'll see it first, but always write it last. Now, your mission and your vision. Now, most of you probably have a mission statement, but do you have a vision statement? Because these grant applications will ask for one. What is the difference? Your mission, that's what you're doing right now, right? Those are your aims, your goals. But the vision is, what would you really like to have happen in the future if you met your mission statement? So that's what your vision is. Keep in mind, and this is critical because this will make the difference as to whether or not you get your grant. Your mission should be aligned to the mission of whatever funder you're going after, whatever foundation you've been able to find. Research their mission and make sure there's an alignment there. So if the foundation is only giving money to, veterans-based organizations, and you happen to be focused on youth development, that's not a match. So make sure you do your research to make absolutely sure that there's that alignment and that there's a connection there between your mission and the mission of the funder or the foundation. Now, this section is always interesting. I get a lot of questions on it, and that's the history. So for many of you, you may just have an idea. Maybe you haven't started the organization, or maybe you're a new organization and you think, well, I'm new, I really don't have a history, but you do. Every organization has a history. What you want to do if you're new, start thinking about, what was the impetus for you starting the organization? Why did you start it? Why did you decide that this is what you wanted to create? And so you take that information and it becomes a part of the development of the organization, which is a part of the history. So I use the example of a former principal who wanted to start a tutoring organization for K through 12 kids. And so this is a new organization. Well, what is her history? Well, she may not have a history with the organization, but she has a history working with the target population. She has a history working with those K through 12 kids. And so you want to talk about that as a part of the organization history. Also on the application is the leadership. This is simply your executive leadership. That could be your CEO, your COO, your executive director, and then you always want to include your board members as a part of your leadership as well. Now you're talking about the description of your organization. And if you are seasoned, this is where you really want to talk about your track record. What is your track record of working with whatever target population it is that you work with, or whomever you serve? Like, do you have a track history of working in that particular area also? So this goes to your experience, right? So let's say, I always use the example of a bakery that wants to locate in a downtown area, let's say downtown Cleveland. And that particular bakery, it's new. So you may not think maybe they don't have a history, but maybe she's been making cupcakes for 30 years, or maybe this recipe was passed down from her, great great grandmother. That's part of the history of the organization before it even opens. So also think about, what is your track record of doing whatever work that you're providing? And sometimes it means working with a particular target population. What has been your success rates? What have been your success factors? And then what is your experience with whatever the subject matter is? Again, thinking about that principal that wants to start that after school tutoring program, where, well, her experience is working with the K through 12 students. So again, if it's a new organization, you can focus on the experience of the leadership and bring it in as part of the history of the organization. Next, we have the statement of need, which basically is asking, what is the problem? And the one thing I want you to know is that there is always, always a problem. Regardless of what organization you have or who you serve, there's always a problem. So let's think about that bakery. She wants to locate in a downtown area. You might be thinking, well, what's the problem there? Well, maybe in that location, there hasn't been any other successful business. Or maybe for her, she's servicing the downtown business community, because the downtown business community maybe doesn't have a really great caterer when it comes to baked goods. And so she's resolving the issue of there not being a great bakery in the downtown area. So whatever you do, whatever service you have to think about how you are resolving a problem either differently or better than anyone else. And so whatever that area is called an area of interest. You need to connect it with your funder. So again, if you're a bakery and this is what you do, you need to make sure that your funder is providing money to maybe restaurants, or if you're a woman-owned business, to maybe women-owned businesses. Make sure that you're matching your area to the area of the funder based on what they are providing grant money to seed. And so the best way of doing that, you have two options. One is going to the funder's website. So now you're looking for, what are the type of grants that they provide? What are these areas of interest that they're really wanting to place their money in? You go to the website and you search. They're typically almost always on any foundational website. There's a section called areas of interest. It's really simple. And you want to make sure that whatever it is they're funding is matching up with whatever your program is. Now, here's the problem though. 90% of foundations don't have a website. So I'll say that again, 90% of foundations do not have a website. So if you hear about a foundation and they don't have a website, what do? Like, how do you get information about that organization? You go to their 990. So the 990 is the tax form that nonprofits and organizations file. However, in the back of that 990 for most nonprofits is a list of where they have donated funding to. So you go to that list and you look for similar organizations, because once you go through that 990 into the back, and you may be seeing that, okay, well, they have provided to veterans organizations, and I'm a veterans organization. So there's some similarities there. So I need to investigate this funder. The 990 is a wealth of information. And so I have right now being placed into the chat for you this absolutely fabulous resource. And this is Marti, fabulous resource called open990.org. It will provide the 990 form of every organization that's available. So it'll be so easy for you to go to the website, look for whatever funder you may have an interest in, and pull that 990 so that you make sure that they're giving in the area for which you are providing services. And just keep in mind, you're doing what you're doing, either differently or better than anyone else. That's what you're going to talk about in your grant application. So the next is the target population. This is basically, who are you helping? You can't help everyone. So too often I hear people saying, well, everybody's my customer. The entire US is my customer. That's not going to bode well. You have to be able to think about, who are you serving best? Who would you serve best? In order to do that, think about demographics. Maybe you're serving a regional area. Maybe you're only serving customers in your city or your county or even your state. But even within that particular community, who is it that is your ideal customer? And so you want to look at target markets. So for the bakery, she's located in a downtown area. So she's saying, okay, 1 mile radius, a 1 mile radius of where I'm located, that is my target audiences and its businesses, because I want that catering business. So facts, plight, trends, maybe you're focused on a particular gender, maybe your organization services women, maybe ethnicity is important, maybe your organization or your nonprofit or your business is focused on the African American community, maybe it's income, maybe you're serving the underserved or the underprivileged community, or maybe it's based on age, maybe your program is solely focused on senior citizens. You have to be able to really define who your target audience is based on geography or other factors. And one of the best ways you can do this to get your data is the US Census Fast Facts. I absolutely love this website because it's going to give you, based on the city, it's going to give you ethnicity, it's going to give you unemployment rates, it's going to give you educational rates. So this is really good for you to be able to use. And again, it's a free resource. Just keep in mind as you're writing, how are you resolving the issue? How are you helping to solve a problem? So the statement of need, I'm going to give you an example of how this is written. So I helped at one particular high school, it was an urban high school. They wanted to write a grant through the Toshiba of America science program. And this particular school wanted a grant to pay for an environmental science class at the high school. So what is the need here? Well, we know that there's a lack of minority students in STEM careers, right? So that matches right back to that environmental science class. We also know at this particular urban high school, they needed to increase student achievement for their minority students. So that's a need. What is their target population? Underrepresented minority high school students. And so this is how I was able to frame the statement of need for the grant application. So science, technology, engineering, and math, of course, that's STEM. Disciplines for minority students can lead to meaningful careers. So that's our goal there. Yet, and this is one need, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, those are my stats. In 2011, the number of African Americans employed in STEM occupations was 8% or less. That is a problem. That's a problem. Here's another problem. According to 2009 figures, only 1.9% of African Americans held careers as environmental scientists or geoscientists. That's another issue. That's another need. That's another problem. How are we going to help resolve the need? Our course is an avenue to close the achievement gap while nurturing students' interest in science. Now I'm wrapping it back around to the mission of the foundation. The school supports Toshiba's belief that science and mathematics are exciting fields in which all students can succeed with the proper tools and instruction. The grant will assist us in achieving these efforts. So that's a way where you state the need and you state how you're going to resolve the need. And so next, I want to talk about storytelling, because grant writing really is about who is telling the best story to that foundation and to that funder. And so anytime you tell a story, you start with a message. You need to know who your audience is. Who are you directing that message to? And I like to call it mining your own experiences. So again, what makes your organization unique, your small business or your nonprofit, is you, like your experiences, because no one can compare to the experiences that you have because they're uniquely yours. So what events in your life make you believe in the idea that you're trying to share? You talk about your experiences. Again, let's talk about the young lady with the bakery. Maybe those recipes were passed down through generations. Maybe she's, been making cupcakes for 20 or 30 years. Those are her experiences and they're unique, and she can bring that to this grant application. But keep in mind, when you're writing, don't make yourself the hero. Don't make your organization the hero. Put the target population at the center of the story, not you. So let's go back to that example about the need. So here, when you look at this example, who do you think really is the hero of this story? Who's going to be helped? Who is at the center of this particular story? So put into the chat who you think is at the center of this particular story. Tarsha, yes. Cheryl, absolutely. Brittany, it's the kids. It's the kids, right? It's not the school, right? It's not the Toshiba of America Foundation. It's the minority students, because guess what? It's the minority students that will have the transformation, right? The transformation is going to be theirs and what they can achieve after being able to go through this environmental science class. So that's who you put, whomever you're serving, your customers, your clients, they're the ones that's going to experience the transformation. And you may be thinking about the bakery. Well, how is that a transformation? Well, you know what? Those may be the best cupcakes that people have ever tasted. I mean, you never know. So again, your customer, who you're serving, keep them at the focus of the story. And of course, you always highlight a struggle like we did. We talked about some of the stats that weren't so good, what those needs were, because most people don't want to even share a story without there being some type of a challenge to make it interesting. And then again, you always keep your stories simple. They don't have to be, very long. And so keeping with talking about how to tell your story, this really is about how you are changing lives or how you are achieving your outcomes, right? And so you want to appeal to a human factor. You want to appeal to core values. You're focusing on the benefits of the organization. The best way I know to do that is through real examples, testimonials, case studies. There's got to be an emotional connection when you are presenting your organization to these grantors and to the funders. The best way I know to do that is through video. There's nothing like it. I can tell you the many times that I've sat in meetings with my client, with a foundation director or a program director, and we can be talking about the history of the organization and talking about how great the clients are. There is nothing like the change on that director's face when they look at a video that we show. 2 to 3 minute video, it doesn't have to be long, but you show that video and it's of testimonials. So it could be of children talking about how their lives were changed by whatever program it is that you're using. And let's go back to the bakery. You could have one of your customers literally put a phone in their face for like a minute and tell them how great this cupcake is. I mean, it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be something that is too long. I mean, the best videos are going to be under 3 minutes. And so it can be a compilation of several smaller videos. But if you have a website, you should absolutely have on that website your videos of some type of testimonials of people who have gone through your program and have experienced some type of success. That should be on the homepage of every single organization. And again, it can be simple. It doesn't have to be long at all. And it can be testimonials. So I prefer videos, but also if you want to put testimonials on there, and those are just the written testimonials, that's fine as well. But there's nothing like video to really show change. And so this is another section on the application that you're really going to have to decide what you want to ask for. Are you asking for operating dollars or program project dollars? Now, some grant applications will give you a choice. Some foundations only provide operating dollars. Some foundations only provide program or project dollars. Here's what you need to know. As of 2020, only about 32% of foundations provide general operating support. Why? Because general operating support means you decide where you put the grant money. They just give you the check. Let's say it's $10,000. You decide where you're going to put it. It could be IT, marketing. It could be in your service area. It could be maybe you're paying rent. You decide where your greatest needs are, and that's where the money goes. And so there's less control over the money from the foundation, which is why there are fewer foundations that provide operating dollars. Now, program project money, that's specific to your organization, whether it's a service or a project that you are providing. So let's say, let's go back to the bakery. Maybe she wants to expand and have a delivery service. That would be her program or her project. So if you are a small business, don't think that only nonprofits have programs or projects. It depends on what you want to do. So for that small business, that bakery, she wants to expand and have a delivery service. Okay, that's what she wants to provide money for. So always think about what are your greatest needs in making a decision about, okay, am I going to ask for operating dollars, or am I going to ask for some type of program, project, or service fund that will pay for a particular aspect of my business? Now, the next section that you'll see on the grant application is just a description of whatever your program or project or service is. Like how and why has it been successful? If you have a track record, you can use that. If it's something new though, new that you're doing, you have to talk about why you think it's going to be successful. Always address the need, but why do you think it's going to be successful? So let's take that tutoring company of the principal. Well, if she's tutoring K through 12 kids, maybe she wants to use project-based learning. Well, she needs to be able to research it to show that, okay, project-based learning is going to be absolutely successful for K through 12 students who are maybe below grade level readers. So whatever you're doing, just make sure you have some type of evidence to show why it's going to be successful. So maybe that particular bakery can show that most restaurants in her area that have a delivery service, maybe they earn 20%, maybe they have a 20% earnings increase in revenue over those who don't. So do your research and find out what type of evidence that you can provide that will show that whatever idea you have is going to be successful. Of course, you put in all kinds of detailed activities. Again, if it's new, you do the research. Your timeline should be realistic. So for example, if it's going to take you 6 months to implement your program, put 6 months. Don't put 3 months, because you don't want to shortchange yourself, and you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to implement the particular service. So community partnerships, this is so important. This again can make the difference as to whether or not you get a grant. You can't go it alone, right? That's the point. You can't do this alone. So it is important for you to be able to have partners. Now, even if you're a small business, you can have community partners, right? Maybe they're your vendors, or maybe there's a volunteer organization that you work with to bring in volunteers into your small business or into your nonprofit. It's so important to be able to work, especially with seasoned partners within your community, because one, you never know who they know. So if you're working with a very seasoned organization to help you implement some part of your organization, they may know someone who sits on the board of some of these foundations. You never know. But being able to build those partnerships are so important for you. So for the Toshiba of America grant, our school partnered with the Cleveland Metro Parks, which is one of the best metro parks in the country. And so in that particular partnership, the students were going to do studies on the campus of the Cleveland Metro Parks in their classrooms. And they were also going to study at the high school. They were going to go to the Metro Parks to take these macroinvertebrate samples from the Rocky River Reservation. So there was a tremendous partnership there. And so Cleveland Metro Parks signed a letter, which is a memorandum of understanding, saying that, yes, we are going to participate in this environmental class. We're going to allow these students to come on our campus and take part of the lessons there. And so that partnership with the Cleveland Metro Parks went a long way in us securing that grant from Toshiba. We were also working on a music program that was going to teach third graders the violin. We were going to work with the Cleveland Orchestra, clearly like one of the best orchestras in the world. So if you can imagine how much authenticity it lends to your organization to say, look, I'm partnering with these major entities. So it's important, whether they're well-known or not, it's best to, again, work with a more seasoned organization. But any type of community partnerships will only benefit you because now you have the experience of not just your organization, but the experiences of that partnership with that community organization that you're going to utilize as well. Because again, you never know who they know. And so now we get to, how we're talking about how do we write these particular components. So the outputs, outcomes, and impact, that's really how you measure your results. And so many grant applications, they will ask you for the output, like what is happening at the end of your program. So for the bakery, it could be, okay, I was able to open up the bakery. So that's an output. But the outcomes will take it one step further. And I go through all three of these because there are applications that will ask you for all three. So the outputs, immediate results, outcomes, as a result of the outputs, this is what you have. So these are the changes or activities as a result of the program being implemented. What is the impact? It takes it a step further. So as a result of the outcomes, what's going to happen 6 months down the road or 1 year down the road? What is going to be the impact of you being able to implement the program where you have the outputs and the outcomes? I'll give you a brief example. There was one organization that was running an ex-offender program, and they started training prisoners before they were ever released from jail. So 100 prisoners were being trained on this pre-release workforce development program 6 months before their release. So the output is you were able to train all 100 prisoners. Now, as a result of that output, what happened? So as a result of the output, they were able to then participate in the next step, in the next level to the program, which was getting this workforce development. They were soft job skills 3 months after their release. So as a result of the output, they were now able to participate in this program after they were released from jail. What is the impact? Again, thinking about what is going to happen as a result of the outcome. Well, as a result of those prisoners being trained in these soft job skills, it's going to reduce the recidivism rate, which is the rate at which prisoners go back to jail, the rate of ex-offenders by 25% within 1 year release. So you're reducing the chance that prisoners will go back to jail because they now have these job skills. So one really feeds into the other. And keep in mind, when you're writing the grant application, this is what you want to have happen. So you're envisioning these things happening as a result of your program. And so an even better way to talk about these outcomes is through your goals. So every application is going to ask you for goals, not just goals, SMART goals. And I'm sure some of you have heard of this before. So your SMART goals, they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're timely. And so what does that mean? Let's change one goal, one regular goal, into a SMART goal. So one regular goal of your program could be, I want to reduce the poverty rate in Cleveland. Well, that is a really huge, significant grant or rather goal. You want it to be specific. You want it to be measurable, right? You want it to be relevant and timely and attainable. So this is how we rewrite it. I want to reduce the poverty rate by 5% in Cleveland for Hispanic children under the age of 5 within a 5-year time frame. So as you can see, it's timely, it's relevant, is measurable, like 5% in Cleveland, Hispanic children, that timely comes into the 5-year time frame is specific. So this is how you create your SMART goals for your grant application. You're using figures, data, statistics, any type of numerical indicators. Another way in which you want to measure your success is through different assessment tools. So that principal may actually do testing for those kids before the program, during and after the program, to gauge whether or not there's been any increase in academic performance. And for you, I love surveys. You can use surveys to provide to whomever your clients are. If you have a restaurant, you can provide surveys. Surveys are a great way to be able to measure your success along the way, to make sure that you are accomplishing your goals and that you have a way to evaluate those outcomes. Reports are great. And also, again, follow-up interviews with people who've been through your program. And so the next section is project program staff. So this is simply really talking about who you are putting in charge of your organization or your project or your whatever service you have. It's important because funders want to know about qualifications. So if you're saying, okay, I have a particular program manager that I'm placing as the lead person for my project, they want to see the bio and the resume to make absolutely sure that that person is qualified. They want to know what responsibilities that you're providing to different staff, because oversight is going to be important to whatever the project is. The numbers are important because if you need 10 people to implement the program, don't put down 5. Be realistic about the numbers. And again, the leadership, they want you to include your board of directors and a current list of board members. This one area people often overlook. Funders, foundations, they love to be able to have a chance to volunteer for your organization. So as you're writing about the grant and the opportunity, maybe there's a way in which you can write in different opportunities for board members of the foundation or foundation staff to then volunteer at your organization to help you implement the program. And so the next section is the budget. And the one thing that you really need to understand about the budget is that you want to itemize your expenses for every budget area. So for example, if you're asking for salaries, you don't want to say, okay, I have $100,000 in salaries and that's it. You need to be specific. So show, okay, this is the amount of money for my executive director. This is the amount of money that I'm paying for my staff or my program personnel. This is the hourly rate. This is the contracted rate. Be specific. Also, are your costs reasonable? So for example, we know that the cost of living in Ohio is different than California, so just be reasonable. Use reliable sources for your estimates. Some people go to Amazon and that's fine. You can decide to attach your vendor quotes, that's up to you. The budget narrative is really about how you're using the funding. So again, if you want to ask for $20,000 for your executive director, make sure you're talking about how that executive director is going to help with the goal of the overall program. And so sustainability is really important because this question is going to ask you, once the grant money is gone, once it's gone, how are you going to sustain the program? And so this becomes particularly interesting for nonprofits. Oftentimes for small businesses, you have some way to generate income, but for your nonprofits, they oftentimes rely on grants. Of course, we have 20% are derived from grants of their income in 2020, but grants are not guaranteed. So the next year, if the grant isn't there, how are they still going to sustain the program? So you're going to get this question. So you have to be creative and thinking about ways that once the grant money is gone, you can still survive, you can still flourish. Because no foundation wants to be able to say, okay, I'm giving you this money, but if I don't give it to you the following year, there's no program. So you have to think about ways to sustain your program. So think about, for example, a high school. And a high school is getting a $10,000 grant. But the next year, the grant is gone. So how are they going to write in the application? Well, the following year, even when the grant money is gone, this is how we're still going to create a pool of money to pay for the program. So I want you to write into the chat some ideas that you might have. Think about a high school. Think about ways in which a high school can raise money so that in that second year, when there's no grant money, they still have enough funding to be able to provide their program or the service. So I want you to put into the chat. Exactly, perfect, Brittany and Cheryl, perfect. Example, fundraisers, right? Fundraisers, absolutely. They could provide fundraisers. They could have a musical. They could have a bake sale. They could sell merchandise, right? They could sell some type of sporting tickets. So you have to be creative on the application and think about ways, even without the grant money, that you're able to sustain your program. So for the bakery, she could say, well, the year after the grant is gone, because I have my delivery service, I project that my revenue is going to increase by 25%, which will give me enough money to continue to sustain my business and provide that particular delivery service. So you have to be creative. So these are some areas now that it's really about getting you noticed amongst a sea of applications. You have to position yourself for success. I talked about it earlier. You have to show how unique your organization is. You want to be able to strategize first. Before you start writing grants, you want to do that research. Research your funders. Make sure there is a match. Some people like to just fill out applications and send them off because these, very large foundations like the Gates Foundation or the Ford Foundation, like, oh my gosh, you're giving money, I have to apply, without really doing your due diligence and researching to make sure that there's a match. Gain your partners. This is important. Gain your partners. Again, you never know who they might know that will get you a foot in the door. And speaking of a foot in the door, this next bullet, I tell you, is probably as important as the grant application itself, and that is relationship building. It is absolutely critical to you getting funding. It's about meeting the funder first, if at all possible. Set up a meeting with the foundation or the funder so that you can introduce your organization, talk about who you are, talk about why you need the money, why it's a good fit for them to invest in you, learn more about the grant itself. I can't tell you how much information you get from those funder meetings that you will never see on the website. So this becomes critical. I've been in meetings with foundation leaders who have said, literally, if I have a stack of applications, that person has not contacted me, not reached out, not emailed, I may put those in the garbage. Now, that doesn't happen with every foundation. There are some foundations that don't want to meet with you. They will say, just complete the application and fill it in. But if you have the opportunity to meet with that funder, please, please do. It will make all the difference in the world, because they will then get to know you more than what they see just on an application or your website. So these are, again, some considerations that you want to consider before you even write. What are you going to be asking for? Keep in mind, we talked about this, general operating support or program project support. You have to make that decision. These are some do's and don'ts. Do create a strategy, right? Research your funder. Link the need to the use of funds, right? How is the money going to help you resolve the need? You have to think like the funder, because at the end of the day, there's limited resources. Like, there's not unlimited pools of money from these foundations. So they're going to give the money to who they think will be using the resources most effectively. Consider your time management. We know grants are deadline driven. Please answer every question, because if it is an online portal and you leave that question blank, it may kick out the application. So if there's a question that does not apply to you, please just put NA so that you have at least filled in that blank. And also absolutely seek the external reviews. There is no such thing as a perfect one pass. Let someone else see the application to make sure that you're not making any grammatical errors or any content errors. So a few don'ts: don't use cookie cutter answers based on a template. Don't ask for too much money when approaching a funder for the first time. Now, this is key. Now, some foundations provide grant money based on a particular amount. They'll say this is a $5,000 grant or this is a $15,000 grant. But many foundations, especially community foundations, there's no money mentioned. So you have to ask them for a certain amount. You don't want to go in asking for too much money. You don't want to go in saying, oh, this is my first time approaching you, give me $100,000. You want to be conservative. I always recommend anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 the first time you're asking for money from an organization. You want to get your foot in the door, because the next year, after you've proven yourself that you can be a great steward of a smaller amount of money, then you can ask for the larger amount. Don't underestimate time. Please start early. You may think you have enough time. Typically, you don't. Don't wait until the last minute to submit. Who knows what could go wrong, especially with an online grant portal. And don't forget to add it. Grammarly.com really is your friend. And so there's a few of you who are interested in providing contract bids for typically governmental agencies, whether it's city, state, or federal. That application is similar to a grant application with a couple of differences. Usually there's a scope of work that you need to complete, but here's the one thing I want to mention. Whatever you do, don't underbid drastically. I tend to provide these workshops for the actual application that you complete, and I get this question all the time. People thinking, well, if I bid the lowest bid, will I have a better chance of getting it? No, not at all, especially if you underbid drastically, because contractors have an idea of how much it costs for whatever that bid is. So if they think that bid is going to be about $1 million and you come in with $100,000, they're going to know that you don't have the capacity and that you're not really aware of what is needed. So just be realistic, look at the work that you have and the work that you can provide. And so this is where we talk about, how do you find your funders? How do you find organizations that's going to be able to meet your needs? Is through your grant research. So the Foundation Directory Online, that is the largest leading source of information on grants in the country. It's about $50 a month. So if you're on a budget, I would highly recommend that you pay for the subscription, you pay for the month, you get as many grants as you can, and then you can always renew later. Instrumental is a bit more pricey. It's about $170 a month. It's a really great tool because they give you tracking, they give you more in-depth information. If you're looking for a federal grant, grants.gov, of course, is a single source for federal grants, over 900 programs from 26 agencies. If you are a religious organization, I know there are some churches on here, you want to look at the Lilly Foundation, and that is their corporate website. So there's no fee, and you can go on there and find out what grants they have for churches in particular. Of course, there's no fee for grants.gov. Grantstation.com provides in-depth information on funders, planning tools and tutorials. If you have an educational organization, I would recommend these two: getfunding.com, getatfunding.com, and then grantgopher.com. I like grantwatch.com because they have these great last-minute grants. Now for Grant Watch and Grant Station, they give you the grants that are available. Instrumental will give you the grants that are available. The Foundation Directory Online will give you the funders, the names of the organizations that provide funding. If you're a minority organization, urbanawarenessusa.org is great for providing information and organization based on your minority company or entity. So I would highly advise you to go to urbanawarenessusa.org. And so these are just some additional grant research results that I have for you. So League Side is great. If you are a sports organization, or you provide any type of sporting equipment for, let's say, youth organizations, definitely go to leagueside.com because they have a pool of different companies that provide to nonprofits either money for your sporting organization or equipment for your sporting organization. And the NFL Foundation is there, Dick's Goods Foundation is there, the Nike Foundation is there. So if you're involved at all in sports or providing any type of youth organizations where sports are going to be involved, League Side is a great avenue for you. But again, you have to be a nonprofit. If you are a woman-owned small business, you have to know about helloalice.com. is one of the best sources available for grants for small businesses that are owned by women. If you are African American and you are a creator on Facebook, so maybe you create programs or you create ads or you have some type of company there, there's a Facebook Black Creators Grant. Amber Grants for Women, they probably give about $25,000 a month. There's a National Association for the Self-Employed Growth Grants. There's a Fearless Fund and MasterCard grant, that's for women of color. The FedEx Small Business Grant. So again, we talked about the NFL and just goods. If you have a women's sports foundation, absolutely you need to go to womensportsfoundation.org. So these are just a few that I was able to pull off just from using some of those grant search tools. There are millions and millions of dollars available through organizations. And so here's a few specifically nonprofit resources. So if you go through your community foundation, typically you want to look at serving the local area or the regional area. That's really what community foundations like. They want to be able to provide money for organizations that's servicing that particular region. The Cleveland Foundation is great at that. They're one of the largest community foundations in the country. But that's when you go to community foundations, just keep in mind you're typically somehow wanting to serve the community. There are corporate foundations like the Walmart Foundation, which provides grants even to churches. They're very, very popular. You have to go through the general manager or the general manager of the local store to get that Walmart Community Foundation. But I mentioned corporate foundation because you don't want to just ask for grants. There are sponsorships. Corporate foundations are great for providing sponsorships, especially if you are new. So if you are a new organization, you really want to go through the corporate foundations because I find in my experience that you're more likely to get money if you're new by going through a corporate foundation than going through a community foundation. Also with corporations, maybe you want to just ask for in-kind donations. Maybe you need equipment for your event or for your store or for your organization. Corporations are great at providing those in-kind donations. If you're wanting a government grant, definitely you can look at your city, state, or local governmental grants that are available. But also a lot of people don't know that their council representatives, that's an avenue that you want to go through to seek money for your particular locality, the particular region for which you live in within a particular city, because there are many council representatives that do have discretionary grant ability where they can write money, they can write grants. So make sure that you are connecting with your council representative. Now, these are two particular areas that I like to talk about that most organizations overlook. So when you think about banks and money, let me know in the chat what comes to your mind when you think about banks and money. Banks and money, what do you think about? Banks and money. Loans, Danette, yes, loans. Ann says interest, yes, absolutely. Loans, Nidra, Brittany, funding. Danette, debt, yes, absolutely. Nidra says denied loans, absolutely. Well, did you know that banks are one of the largest providers of grants? People too often think of just loans that come from banks. Banks provide a significant amount of grant money every single year. You just have to know where to go. So it's really not your branch manager. It's typically a vice president at the bank, a vice president of community foundations or community relations or community development. So look for the vice president at your bank. And typically, if the bank has a really strong presence in your community, there's an even greater chance that they are providing grant money. So do your research and find out, where are the banks in your location that have a really strong presence in the community. More than likely, they provide grants. The second area is workforce development. So if you are an organization that's providing jobs in your community, in addition to whatever kind of or type of grant that you look for, always look for workforce development grants. So even if you have a youth development program, or even if you are that bakery, if you are providing jobs. You are creating jobs for your community. Add on to your grant search workforce development, because you are literally developing the workforce in your community. And it doesn't matter if it's a W-2 employee or a 1099 employee, you're still producing labor. So I want to thank you so much for staying to the end. I do have a surprise for you. As I mentioned, I have been writing grants literally for 14 years. And yes, I have secured $17 million in funding and business development. And I wanted a way that I literally could help as many people as possible, as many nonprofits and as many small businesses to get this money, because that's what it's about. It's about getting this free grant money. And so what I did, I created a course. I created a grant writing course called Grant Writing for Non-Writers, Keys to Winning Grant Proposals. And as you see in the title, it's for non-writers. You don't have to be a professional writer to be able to win grants. I can't stress that enough. And so with this particular lesson, really it does provide you with in-depth information. It is a step-by-step process through the life of a grant application, so that as you go through the course, you're writing about your organization. So at the end, you have your grant application. You have a great template for a grant application. Of course, every application is unique, but you have a great template for that application. It's about saving you money, because as I mentioned before, grant writers can be expensive, but they have great experience, but they can be expensive. You want to really stop spinning your wheels. I hear stories all the time. I know you're tired of getting grant rejections. I understand that. This is a process, and I really want to be able to show you the process. So through the course, it's 12 modules, 35 lessons. I know everybody learns differently. Some people learn better with videos. Some people learn better with the written word. I give you both. I start off each lesson with a video, and then I have the written narrative so that you know exactly what it is I'm asking you. So if I'm teaching about history, I'm going to have for you the video. I'm going to have for you the lesson, but I'm also going to have for you an example of a real grant that I secured with a history section in it, so that you know what it looks like. I'm not just saying to you, how do you write about the history of your organization? I'm giving you an example. This was a winning grant. Every example is of a winning grant. This is how it should look. I also give you, after you're done, right after you make your way through the course and you have this great grant template, I literally give you a list of over 400 funders. So you're ready. To me, this is all about you being ready to get money. You need to be ready to start getting grants. And so I give you a list of over 400 funders. So I'm talking about every part of the narrative in this course. Your basic writing techniques, we just literally just covered the surface. I go through a budget. I go through a budget narrative. I give you a real budget so that you see how it looks. We didn't even talk about the letter of inquiry. That's a letter that's usually 2 or 3 pages long, whereby you may be asked to do that instead of a grant application. I give you those actual winning grant examples. I talk to you about this is how you prepare, because I no longer want you to just get an application and complete it. There are things that you want to do before you apply that will make it more likely for you to get the grant. And that's what I want you to be able to learn and do. I give you the lessons. I give you downloadables, which are printables. I give you a workbook. I give you every single lesson in the workbook. I give you these great, funny quizzes. There's grant research so that you know, how do I find the perfect funder? It's all about accountability. Even throughout the course, you get discussion starters. So if you're stuck or if you have a question, you ask the question. I personally come in and I answer. But this is all about, again, accountability. There's a monthly group coaching session and it's free. You get it as a part of the course. And one is actually coming up on Thursday, where it's an hour-long session. You come in, you introduce your organization, you ask whatever question you want that will get you going. Maybe you've started an application and you're stuck. That's what it's for. But also the private Facebook group is an incredible community of the students, and they gather together. They will literally help other students out. I've had students say, well, I wrote this portion of the grant. Can someone look at it? and I have students saying, yes, I'll be glad to look at it. That's the type of community that I have within this group. So that's important. That's free again with the course. And so you get the 12 modules, 35 lessons with the video. That's worth $3,549. The 30 introductory videos is worth $599. You've got, again, this list of 400 funders. If you paid for me to give you a custom list of funders, it's a lot more than $500. You have planners. I give you a planner so that you can track your grants, so that as you are applying, you have a way to track your progress. And so the total value of the course is $4,997. My regular price is $997. That's my everyday price. But I relaunched this course because I made it even better. I included more information. I included more quizzes. And so I introduced it for $497. However, for the next 3 days and 3 days only, you can get this course. This is not a monthly payment. People always ask me, is it a monthly payment? It's not a monthly payment. I reduced it for 3 days only for $197. That's it. That's for the entire course, but it will go back up to $497, and eventually it will go back up to $997. But for the next 3 days, you get it for $197. You will need this coupon code that will take $300 off of the $497. This code is only good for the next 3 days, and it's May savings, and that's actually a lower capital, this a lower letter M. So Erica, when you put it into the chat, that is a lower letter M. So it's May savings. When you go into the portal and you put in May savings, literally, you're going to see the $497 price because that's how much it is. But this code is going to give you $300 off. So this course literally for the next 3 days is only $197, and then it goes back up. Now you also are going to get the bonus coaching. So if you join, you will be able to attend the free group coaching session that's coming up this Thursday. All right, so this is what you get, everything, the May savings, that's the code that you put in. It's $197 for the entire course. This is everything you get. You get all of the sessions, the lessons, the non-writing elements, you get the private Facebook group. It is self-paced, so that's something you need to know. You start when you want to start. It is self-paced. So absolutely, once you pay, you can start. You don't worry about an expiration date. There is no expiration date. I want you to be successful. I want you to be able to go through the course and start winning your grants. And so you'll have the discount code. It'll be good until May 20th, but certainly I want you to be able to purchase it now, get it done, get it out of the way, and start securing the money, because that is what is important. Start securing the money. So I just want to make sure that it's in the chat. Yes. So when you go in, you will receive a question asking you, do you have a coupon code? You have to look for that. It's under the $497. Do you have a coupon code? Put in the coupon code of May savings, and it will automatically take the price down to $197. But that's it. It'll be that for 3 days. So I don't want anyone upset after 3 days when it goes back up to $497, and then it will go back to $997, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I had a chance to get that course for $197. This is your chance to get it done. And so these are just a few of the testimonials. Kim says, I invested in the program recently and it's amazing. Linda Peavy is a master grant writing guru. Thank you, Kim. Carla says, I'm so glad I signed up for the course. It is straightforward and very easy to understand and chock full of information. So thank you, Carla. Paulina says, I would like to thank you for the page in the course. The course was easy to read, listen to, and understand. And it is. I've made it so simple. I've already signed up for notifications from Hello Alice, and the information I received is very helpful. And then Linda says, what a great idea to become a grant service provider. And so I literally have people who go through the course and they become professional grant writers because they learn so much information. So again, that's the information to enroll for 3 days. Now we're going to start the Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to start in the Q&A section here. And then we're going to go over to the chat. because I just like to make sure I get all of the questions. So are grants available for nonprofits, advocacy organizations? Absolutely, they are. So when you go to do your search in one of those grant portals, right, I mentioned Grant Watch and Grant Station and the Foundation Directory, you're going to put in there that that is your area, is advocacy. So absolutely, yes. Is it better to focus on community needs, or is it okay to work within the US? I'm not sure what you're asking. When you say community needs, you mean within your neighborhood? So if you're working on a project within your neighborhood, then you're going to focus on your neighborhood community foundations, because that's where they're going to focus their funding. So just be sure, if it's local to your region, you want to be able to connect with your community foundations. And again, your political leaders, your council people, your banks, because they're going to be laser focused on that community, that particular region. So let's say your area is Chicago. They're going to be laser focused on giving money to organizations that live and thrive in Chicago. How do we go from volunteers to paying them via grants? So when you apply for a grant, you could say that the grant money is going to be used to pay for 1099, or I assume it would be 1099 workers, because if you have volunteers, you may not go from a volunteer to a W-2 employee. That's up to you. But you write into the grant literally that part of the money is going to pay for your contractors. And so that's fine. You can say that within the grant. In the partnership section, can you name organizations you would like to partner with, or can you only list organizations you currently partner with? That is a great question. And so on grant applications, in the past, I have listed numerous organizations that I will be contacting. It doesn't mean that I'm going to connect with them, but you know what? It lets the funder know what you're thinking and who you're thinking about contacting. So absolutely, name organizations that you would like to partner with in that application. And who knows, right? Once you submit it, maybe they know someone who's in that organization that you can partner with, even if you don't get the grant, because just because you don't get the grant does not mean that that foundation does not want to help you. So absolutely name those partners for whom you would like to partner with. Okay, so that's, I believe, it for the Q&A. So I'm going to look into the chat to get questions now, because I know there were questions in the chat that I want to make sure. So yes, definitely. I want everybody to be ready, first of all, because this offer is going to go away. The price is going back up. That's why you have a code. The price of the course is $497, but I'm giving you the code for 3 days to use, because again, I'm all about helping you to get grant money. And I believe that, you know, by you coming here tonight, you're serious about getting grant money, and this is a way in which you can do it. I do know that there are courses where you take the course, especially the university courses, you take the grant writing course online and then it's over with and you pay thousands of dollars and that's it. That is just not how we operate. I always host the free group coaching sessions. I host those sessions. So you're able to ask me questions. If you hired me separately, my rate is $200 an hour, which, you know, people do hire me for one-on-one. But when you buy the course for less than $200, you can get to ask me questions in the free group sessions, for sure. So it's just a win-win. Also, I don't think I mentioned that this is tax deductible. So what you pay for this course, the $197, we are already getting it at this crazy low price, is tax deductible if you're a business, for sure. Okay. All right, let me go back up because there's quite a few questions here. All right, let's see. Does the operating budget need to be done annually? Absolutely. So you can have for sure a 5-year forecast, but it's only a forecast. You need to have an annual operating budget, absolutely. I would like to know how religious organizations differ from 501c3. 501c3 is a designation by the Internal Revenue Service that you are a tax exempt organization. Our religious institutions, churches, are already tax exempt. Well, thank you, Danette. She says, wow, this is a serious top tier webinar. Thank you so much. I don't believe in providing fluff, people. I don't believe in providing fluff. I value your time like you value my time. You decided to be with me here tonight. You could have been anywhere else. So I just want to give you information that is going to help you get this money, because the money is out there. It is available. All right, let's see. Can you list organizations? Yes, you would like to partner with, absolutely. As the hired grant writer, do you personally make these connects or guide the agency to build these relationships? So both. So it's both. So if I personally have connections that I know that's going to help you, I will make those introductions. But my job as a grant writer and as a grants management person, if you're working with me as a client, I will help you to make those connections. Absolutely. You're going to utilize your resources. I'm going to utilize my resources. However, just let me be really clear. My organization focuses on this course. We also do the research for you. So you could hire my organization to do the research and create a customized list for you of grants. We do provide those services. We provide grant reviews. So we will review an application for you, but we no longer write the grants, because our time is spent really being able to provide you with a quality service in the course. Were those outcomes projected or definitely did? So great question. Those outcomes were projected. So your outcomes are always projected because they're always based on what you want to have happen in the future. Now you can utilize what has happened in the past to create a more authentic outcome that's based on actual data, but they're always projected. Data tells a story, Tarsha. Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. Yes, love surveys. Absolutely. Surveys are fantastic. I understand, like for me, I'm starting a home health care, then later a group home and a youth special needs daycare plus Saturday care. Do I put all that in the grant letter? Well, not necessarily, because those may be, you may talk about what your dreams are and what you want to accomplish, but there may be different funders that fund each one of those segments that you want to accomplish. There may be one particular foundation that only provides for youth services, right? There may be another foundation that provides money for home health care. There may be another foundation that provides money for group homes. I would say that's a lot. So I always advise my clients to focus on doing one thing really well first before they start adding to it. So you might want to think about that. But if that's what you want to do, you need to look separately when you go to the grant URL. So for example, if it's Foundation Directory Online and you're putting in the parameters, one may be group home and you find out how many funders would fund a group home. You may want to do it again for youth services because they're probably going to be different funders. A great tool for getting information from the community is 605 Rotary Community Assessment. Google it. So Tarsha says, everybody Google 605 Rotary Community Assessment. And she's saying that's a great tool for getting information. I'm not sure about other states, but in New York City, we also use a New York City Community Health Profile. Perhaps your cities have something similar. So yes, definitely. Every city typically has a site where you can go to get information about funding. Start with your city. Start with your city services. Find out, what aspect of your city website would have information. Grants.gov has been a huge asset. Right. So with grants.gov, what's really great is that you can sign up for different emails so that you know when a grant is going to open on grants.gov. So I would be careful though, because again, there are hundreds of thousands of grants in there, but you can sign up based on your particular area of interest. So let's say you only want to be notified about grants from the Ohio Department of Education, or rather the US Department of Education. That's what you put into grants.gov. So you can go in there and tailor what kind of email notifications that you want. All right, let's see. I have 30 plus years in youth and community development and 8 years as a city funder oversight for nonprofits. How could you use my specialized knowledge to help small businesses and nonprofits win government contracts? So if that's your specialty, you could do a number of things. You could do webinars, like I'm doing a webinar that specializes on those government contracts. I do it just to a smaller extent where I've provided a workshop where people are there to know how to complete that contract application when they're making a bid. But you could certainly provide webinars. You could be a paid consultant. You could help them with the application. So there's a number of ways in which, with those many years of experience, where you can be an asset to the community. All right, so, thank you, Danette. Yes, so Bessie says she's a visual learner, and that's one of the reasons why every lesson starts with a video, because there are visual learners. There are people that learn better visually. There are people that learn better just reading narrative. That's why I give you everything. I give you both. I start with the video and I give you the course. So again, I want you to be ready to get this money for sure, for sure. Yes, community is absolutely key. Let's see. Yes, the discount code is good until Friday. Again, it's $300. I just don't want you to miss out on it because the price really, really, really is going back up. It's $197 for the next 3 days. So it's a wealth of information. The list of funders alone, just the list of funders, is worth way more than $200, just the list. So I don't want you to miss out on the discount code while you're thinking about it tonight. Is the best time to just go ahead and buy the course. And when you buy the course, you start immediately. And this is really important. The very next free group coaching session is Thursday. So if you buy the course tonight, you will be admitted to the free group coaching on Thursday, where you get to ask any question that you want specifically about your organization. So what's the date of the course? The course has no date. The course is available as soon as you pay for it. The course does not have an expiration date. Life happens. You may buy the course and say, oh, for whatever reason, I can't start for a month, or I can't start for 6 weeks. That's okay. You start whenever you're ready, because the course is there and the course does not expire, unlike many, many other courses where you get 2 months or you get 3 months. It may take you 4 months to get everything together, right? You may just have an idea that you really want to flesh out. So that's why I really try to be mindful of where you are, where I was as an entrepreneur, to be able to give you the flexibility to pursue this when you're ready. But when you pay for it, the course is yours and it will be open. When signing up for the class, look for, yes, I have a coupon, because I don't want you to pay the $497 when you can pay the $197. Now, if you forget to put in the code and for whatever reason it charges you $497, we do an immediate refund of your money. So don't worry about that. But I want to see everyone on Thursday in the free group coaching, whether you're a nonprofit, whether or not you're a small business. Think about, wow, what could I do with $10,000? What could I do with a $20,000 grant? How would that make a difference in my organization? How can that get me started? This is possible. People are writing and winning grants based on this very proven method. I mean, I gave you a lot of information in the webinar. It's that information and then some, but it's step by step. And as you saw in the testimonials, it's step by step by step. So you'll get to it. Will the cost cover any future updates to it is definitely a lifetime. I don't call it a membership. It's a lifetime program. So it is there. And yes, I do provide updates to it. But yes, it is a lifetime course. So there's no expiration date. Can men use the May savings code? So I'm not sure what the question is about, but that code is for anybody. This is not a grant course for women. I need to be clear about that. This is not a course for women. So remember I said there's a list of 400 funders that you get with the course. So if you ask me to create that particular list for you, right now it's $750. For me to create a customized list of funders for you, you get a list that covers youth development, veterans organizations, health and wellness in the course. You literally get that as a part of the course. And so that includes, it's not all gender specific. So that includes if you're a male and you own a nonprofit or you own a small business, trust me, there are grant applications in there for you. So yes, there are some absolute companies that give to women-owned businesses or women-led nonprofits. That's in there too. But there's grants for everyone. When applying for grants, do you have to have a business bank account or can it be your personal bank account? Always recommend it to have a business bank account. I really can't recommend any particular banks, but I would, because I don't want it to get into naming particular banks because I don't have any partnership with any banks, but I would do my research and I would ask around and I would ask people for whom you know that have a relationship with a particular bank and find out what that relationship has been like. What is a good percentage for administrative costs? So typically, now this is just typically, most grants don't want to pay for or don't want to provide for money for more than 15% admin costs. So it depends on the grant, absolutely depends on the grant, but many foundations and many funders don't want to provide for operating costs for more than 15% of the admin. So the admin really shouldn't be more than 15% of your budget if you expect to get money to pay for the admin costs. How do you apply for a grant for a startup business? So I gave you a list of grant portals that you can go through. Those are all search portals. So when you go in that portal, so for example, grantwatch.com, when you go into grantwatch.com, it will ask you if you're looking for money for a nonprofit or a small business. And so you would just check small business. And so there are organizations that absolutely give money to startups. So it's just about doing the research. Difference between administrative costs and cost of running the business. So it depends on what you're putting in as a cost to run the business. Typically, those are your operating costs. Your admin costs, your operating costs is typically what you put into the budget to operate the business. Yes, master that one thing. Yes, Tarsha, master that one thing. Okay, how do you apply or find grants to start up small businesses? I am waiting to start up a business to assist individuals in applying for Social Security disability. Great, absolutely great area. And other government programs, I have 60 years of processing Social Security disability. So again, when you do your research, I gave you several different websites where you can do research. You literally go in and you indicate that you are a small business. And then based on the grant, it will tell you what those requirements are. Some of them will say you need to be in business for a certain number of years. I don't typically see that. As a matter of fact, many of the small grant whether the grants for small businesses that I've seen usually will say, this is for a business that's less than 5 years old, or that's less than 3 years old, or that's less than 10 years old. Typically, if you're more seasoned, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult, in my experience, to get the grants for as a small business. I know there's many grants that I have not qualified for because I've been in business for 14 years. So it is there. The grants are there for startups for sure. Danette, I certainly understand that. Well, this entire course is $197, and what you will get, I don't know what you've gotten from others, but what you will get if you buy this course is support. That's for sure. Support through the private Facebook group, support through the monthly free group coaching sessions. You will get support. Again, I teach the free group sessions. So when you have questions, this is about coming to that session and asking questions. Even as you go through the course, there's discussion starters where, again, if you're stuck here, you need information, you ask. That's what's very different. I don't believe in having a course where people buy it and they never see me again. Like, I'm there teaching the free group session. I often go into Facebook and answer questions. And also the Facebook group, I'm always putting new information in there. That's not anywhere else. I'm always putting new grant information, new templates in the Facebook group. So it's worth being in the Facebook group. If you're thinking of starting a business and seeking a grant, the best option to get started, I don't want to say it's the best option, it's one of many options. So a grant is a good option. I would not rely solely on grant money to start a business. There may be loans, there may be angel investors, there may be, there's so many different opportunities to secure funding now for businesses. Grants should be one of them. Grants should absolutely be one of them, but there are other ways as well. So as a city funder, when reading RFPs, we look to see what other funding sources you have. That's what I mentioned, absolutely, and how you will fundraise. A red flag is if a large portion of the grant is for admin versus community service. How are you using the funding to enhance the lives of the community you serve? So that was a question that was raised before, which is very good. Someone asked about the administrative costs, because if you have a budget and the majority of the money in that budget is being spent towards administrative costs instead of the actual program of servicing people, yes, it's going to be a red flag. And so I believe I have gotten through most of I think I've gotten through all of them. I know, let me double check the Q&A. Okay, what is a good percentage for the admin costs? Typically, they don't want to see more than 15%. So I think I'm done here. Let me go to the bottom of the chat. Do I need to purchase this course twice to include my writer, coordinator, myself? So this is an online course for one individual. This is an online course like you would buy any other course online for one individual. Thank you so much. The agency providing you the grant will use your data. Not really sure if that was, is that a question, Tarsha? That the agency providing you with the grant will use your data. So the agency that's providing the grant will definitely use the data that you provide to them in terms of being able to look at whether or not that's part of the examination process of whether or not you're going to get the grant. So I believe I've gone through all of the questions. So again, please, I hope that you can definitely join us for Thursday for the free group coaching session, so that if you have other questions, you can absolutely ask me there. If you are starting an application, you can bring that application with you. Again, it's totally free. It's part of what you get for being a student. We want to see you there. We definitely want to see you in the Facebook group. You'll be admitted as soon as you join as a student. So when you pay the price of the course, you will get immediate access to the course. And then you'll want to come over and join the Facebook group. You will get an email when you buy the course with the link to the Facebook group in there. So definitely, I'm just hoping you're ready, and I want to know that you're ready. So I want you to put into the chat, I really want you to put into the chat that you're ready to get this money, that you're ready right now. Summer's coming. You know, I want you to be in a place where you're not always thinking about bootstrapping and using personal funds. The grant money is free. You're in a position more so than I have ever seen to get money, because as I showed you earlier, the money is there. The money is there. So yes, Danette says I'm ready. Betsy says I'm ready. At Nisi, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I probably butchered that name terribly. Ready, Tarsha, I feel empowered because I'm here to support you. That's what I absolutely want you to understand. I'm here to support you. I'm not one of those teachers that just, you know, once you buy the course, you'll never see me again, and I disappear. Again, I'm there teaching the group sessions, and then I also peek into the Facebook group, but I answer every discussion question in the session. So it's about support, because again, I want you to secure the grants that you are writing. There's a process. I gave you a lot of the process. There's even more to it, and I want to help you to become successful. So again, thank you so much. Yes, show me the money. I am ready. Lily says, show me the money. One of my favorite movies. Yes, Jerry Maguire. So thank you so much. Absolutely. She's ready. She's ready. Tiffany Haddish voice. Yes, yes, yes. I want to see everyone on Thursday. Everyone I want to see on Thursday. So think about investing this less than $200 in your organization. It is tax deductible. Do it. You will not be sorry. You will be helped. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I look for the recording tomorrow. So what I want to do really quickly, I want to make sure that this particular email is on your Safe Center list, because I want you to get the recording. Now, it's going to come from Zoom, but it's also going to come from this particular email as well. So I want you to put it on the Safe Senders list. So it'll come, you'll get one replay probably from Zoom, and then another replay as well from the LaPav email address, which is the company that I own. So definitely join us. Thank you so much. Have a very safe and blessed night. And I will see you this Thursday, people. I will see you this Thursday. Thanks so much. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.